Look, if your idea of a perfect Friday night is a controller, snacks, and zero human interaction, you're in good company. Here are 20 of the best games for solo gamers, reviewed, roasted, and occasionally defended. And I bet by the end of this video, you'll discover games that you've not heard of before.
Oh, what brings you to the Vatican, Indy?
I'm looking for someone.
All right, let's start with something that's going to be a little controversial. This one's a great movie glued onto a mediocre game. Look, I said it. The first-person melee combat is stiff, the stealth is functional at best, and half your puzzles boil down to shine flashlight at wall. But here's the thing, none of that matters that much. The set pieces, the Nazi punching, the globe-trotting from Marshall College to the Himalayas, it's indie. It feels like indie. Every cutscene, every one-liner, every why'd it have to be snakes moment lands exactly how it should. I found myself just turning my brain off and enjoying the ride. Actually, wait, can't say that. Let's just say all you really needed going in was some popcorn and low expectations for the actual mechanics. The wit mechanics are genuinely fun in short bursts. The exploration hits that adventurous itch, and the voice acting carries scenes that would otherwise fall flat. It's not a great game, it's a great vacation dressed up as one. And honestly, sometimes that's enough.
Wać takowo tliksowy aman duro et takowe mestie?
Wyznajać. Samobdy Madry kontrolują kraj.
We've all played the border checkpoint sim before, stamp this, deny that, catch the smuggler, feel nothing. It's usually a spreadsheet with extra steps. Contraband Police fixes that by making every decision actually cost you something. You're not just checking papers anymore, you're managing a war-torn checkpoint where letting the wrong truck through gets people killed down the line, and letting the right one through might get you killed instead. The tension builds slow, real slow. You start paranoid about license plates, cross-referencing documents like your life depends on it because, well, it kind of does. There's a corruption system too, where bribes and favors pile up until you're compromised in ways you didn't sign up for. I'll admit, the pacing drags in the mid-game once you've learned the checkpoint rhythm. It can start to feel repetitive before new mechanics kick back in, but when it clicks, when you catch a forged passport on instinct alone, it's one of the few management sims that makes you feel like a person under pressure instead of a bureaucrat pushing paper.
While this feature was fun for the first few times, wind guides you across the field. No waypoint, no arrow on your minimap, just golden leaves drifting toward your next objective while a duelist waits, blade drawn, silent in the tall grass. That's the loop Ghost of Tsushima builds itself around. And it's Sucker Punch's samurai epic, obviously. The combat stances, stone, water, wind, moon, each counter a specific enemy type, and swapping mid-fight feels less like a menu and more like really reading your opponent. It's elegant, it's brutal, Okay, real talk for a second. The side quests get repetitive fast. Follow the fox, follow the bird, follow the fox again, and every single standoff triggers that same unskippable slow-mo intro, which is gorgeous the first 20 times and mildly infuriating the 40th. Still, when you're galloping through a bamboo forest with ghost armor on, cutting down a patrol in one clean draw strike, none of that matters. It's one of the most visually confident open worlds on PlayStation, pain points and all, and Jin's arc from honorable samurai to something darker still hits.
Here's my hot take on modern ARPGs. Most of them have completely lost the plot on what build customization actually means. You get a talent tree, sure, but it's usually just a slower, prettier gear check dressed up as choice. The Slormancer throws that out. Its skill system layers ancestral legacies, traits, and gear mods until your build mutates into something unrecognizable from where you started. And I mean that as a compliment. The itemization is dense, borderline overwhelming at first, but once it clicks, you start theory crafting builds that shouldn't work and somehow do. Combat is fast, screen clearing, satisfying in that particular Diablo-adjacent way. Well, not quite Diablo, more like if Path of Exile and a roguelite had a baby with better production values. I'll admit the visual clarity suffers during boss fights when the screen turns into a soup of particle effects. You genuinely can't see your character sometimes. But the sheer depth of experimentation on offer, the fact that it rewards weird build ideas instead of punishing them, makes it one of the more slept-on ARPGs of the last few years.
Welcome to Night City.
If the Slormancer had you meticulously theory-crafting builds at your own pace, methodically clicking through menus, yeah, forget that pacing entirely, because Phantom Liberty throws you straight into Dogtown and doesn't let up. This is CD Projekt Red at their most confident, dropping you into Night City's most dangerous district with Idris Elba's Solomon Reed pulling you into a spy thriller that's tighter and more focused than the base game ever was. The new Relic skill tree adds this whole layer of cyberware synergy that changes how combat feels. Quick hacks chain into gunplay, chain into melee in a way that's fast, brutal, almost improvisational. Look, the writing here is perhaps some of the best in the whole Cyberpunk catalog. Morally gray choices that don't have a clean answer, characters you'll be thinking about after credits roll. My one gripe? Dogtown itself is smaller than I expected after Night City's scale, and it shows once you've cleared the map. But mechanically, narratively, this expansion elevates the entire game around it. It's not a side dish, it's the main course now.
But don't forget,
The future is yours for the taking.
Approach only at your own risk.
Pacific Drive is a survival driving roguelike where your car is basically a character with its own personality problems. You're hauling scrap through the Olympic exclusion zone, and every run means patching your station wagon back together with whatever junk you scavenged. New doors, new panels, new questionable electrical work before the next storm rolls in and tries to kill you both. The anomaly design is legit unsettling. Floating road signs, gravity wells, things that just shouldn't move but do. Your car starts developing quirks too, flickering lights, doors that won't stay shut, and you start talking to it like it's alive. I did anyway, don't judge me. The crafting loop between runs is where the real strategy lives. Upgrading your garage, researching new tech, deciding what risks are worth taking on the next expedition. It's tense in a way most survival games aren't, because the tension isn't will I die, it's will my car die, which somehow hits different. The narrative delivery leans a little heavy on radio chatter and environmental notes, but the atmosphere carries it.
Constitution that occurs to you or your loved ones should you interact with the instability.
Escort missions have a bad reputation for a reason. Nobody wants to babysit an NPC who wanders into gunfire and yells at the worst possible moment. The Last of Us flips that dynamic completely. Ellie isn't dead weight, she's a person, and the game builds its entire emotional spine around that relationship surviving a world that keeps trying to break it. And look, before anyone in the comments gets confused, this is part 1. Just part 1. As far as we're concerned today, part 2 doesn't exist, we don't know her, moving on. The stealth and scavenge combat still holds up, resource scarcity forcing real decisions about whether that shiv is worth crafting now or saving for later. Every encounter with infected feels desperate rather than heroic. You're not a super soldier, you're just trying to survive the next room. The remake's visual overhaul makes Joel and Ellie's performances hit even harder than before, catching every flicker of exhaustion and grief on their faces. It's slow in places, deliberately so, and that patience is exactly what makes the ending land the way it does. Coming off Last of Us' slow, grief-heavy pacing, let's shift gears completely. Nine Souls is fast, precise, and criminally underrated. This is a Taoist punk platformer that wears its Sekiro influence right on its sleeve, built almost entirely around deflect timing. Every encounter is a rhythm puzzle disguised as combat, where you're reading enemy tells and slapping back projectiles on reaction rather than reflex alone. Come to think of it, the parry window feels generous in early fights. Well, until you hit the back half of the game, where bosses start chaining unblockable phases that demand actual pattern memorization. The platforming sections between fights are tight too, precise wall jumps and dashes that never feel like padding. What really gets me is the world building, this solar punk meets mythology aesthetic that nobody's really doing right now, paired with a story about legacy and rebellion that's more thoughtful than it needed to be for an indie action game. It didn't get anywhere near the attention it deserved at launch. If you like Sekiro but want something shorter, tighter, and weirder, this one's an easy recommendation.
Power. This weapon comes from here.
Picture this, you're mid-combo, surrounded, health bar dipping into the red, and the only thing standing between you and a game over screen is a perfectly timed dodge into a Spartan Rage activation. That's the rhythm God of War runs on. And yeah, this is Kratos' 2018 reinvention, trading the old hack-and-slash chaos for something tighter and more grounded. The camera sitting right over his shoulder the whole game was a bold choice. No cuts, no loading transitions, just one continuous take from start to finish. It sounds gimmicky on paper, but it does make every fight feel more physical, more immediate. Atreus fighting alongside you adds this whole layer of combo potential. Freeze an enemy with an arrow, follow up with a heavy strike, chain it into a finisher. The Norse mythology angle gives Kratos an actual arc for once. father instead of just fury. My only real complaint is the story sags a bit in the mid-game side content before the final act picks the pace back up. Still, mechanically and emotionally, this is one of the tightest action games Sony's ever put out.
Say it.
He will be better.
Do you have an appointment?
The name's Bond.
James Bond. He's with me.
And you are?
Kratos solves his problems by getting angrier and hitting harder. Bond solves his by staying 3 steps ahead and never breaking a sweat. First Light leans hard into that contrast, giving you a younger 007 who's still sharpening the cool, calculated edge we know from the films. The stealth systems here reward patience over aggression, reading guard patterns, using gadgets to manipulate the environment rather than just eliminating everyone in the room. There's a real satisfaction to clearing a whole compound without firing a shot. And to be honest, satisfaction undersells it. It's borderline addictive once you get into the rhythm of it. The set pieces swing big too. Casino infiltrations, high-speed chases, the kind of spectacle you'd expect from Bond, but grounded just enough that it doesn't tip into cartoonish. Gadget variety keeps encounters fresh. You're never locked into one approach for too long. My one nitpick is the difficulty curve spikes oddly in a couple of mid-game missions where stealth options feel thinner than they should. Still, as a reintroduction to Bond in game form, this one earns its license to thrill.
Your day of reckoning is here, yet you need not be afraid.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is enormous, a sprawling, ambitious reimagining of one of the most beloved RPGs ever made, expanding a few hours of the original game into dozens spent exploring the grasslands, Junon, and beyond. The combat system blends real-time action with ATB gauge strategy in a way that keeps every fight tactical without slowing the pace down. But look, let's talk about the actual feature everyone's obsessed with. This game is basically perfect for lonely gamers because it lets you swing both ways. Want a bro date? Take Barrett out on the Gold Saucer date sequence. Prefer the girls in your party? Aerith, Tifa, and yes, even Yuffie all have their own arcs waiting for your attention. It's shockingly comprehensive for a subplot most people expected to be an afterthought. The minigame density is a lot. Queen's Blood alone could be its own game. And pacing dips whenever the open world checklist takes over from the story, but the character writing, the music remixes, the sheer scale of what Square Enix built here, it's one of the most ambitious RPGs of the decade.
To keep the others safe.
It's upon us.
The Abyss has a tendency to attract undesirable things.
Here's an interesting case study in a game that nails one half of its identity and stumbles on the other. Luna Abyss has pretty engaging combat, fluid, momentum-based movement that lets you grapple, dash, and reposition mid-fight in ways that feel almost acrobatic. The vertical arenas make every encounter a spatial puzzle as much as a shooting gallery, and once you're in the groove, it's fast and kinetic in a way few shooters manage. Where it falls short is the narrative side. The story's delivered almost entirely through dense, text-based logs you're expected to stop and read between combat sections, which kills momentum hard. And the narrative choices you're occasionally given feel uneven. Some branch meaningfully, others barely register at all, and it's not always clear which is which going in. I wanted to love the world building here. This abyssal, oppressive sci-fi setting has real atmosphere to it. But when the mechanical highs are this strong, it's frustrating watching the story structure hold the whole package back. Play it for the movement and combat. Don't expect the plot to carry its weight.
This thing inside of you.
The complaint about Souls-likes being too punishing for newcomers isn't wrong exactly. Bosses that demand 40 attempts and zero mercy have chased plenty of players away from the genre entirely. Black Myth Wukong threads that needle better than almost anything before it. Combat still has weight, still demands you learn patterns, but the transformation system, turning into enemies you've defeated, unlocking entirely new movesets, gives you options instead of just punishment. Journey to the West as source material gives game science and mythology deep enough to pull spectacle from constantly, and it shows in boss design that rarely repeats itself. Each fight feels like its own set piece. The staff combat has real flow to it too, stance switching between styles that reward aggression differently depending on what you're facing. I'll admit the difficulty spikes unevenly in a few chapters where one boss feels manageable and the next feels tuned for a different game entirely, but visually, mechanically, this is one of the most confident debut productions in years, and it makes the genre feel accessible without sanding off what makes it good.
What a pleasure to meet a stalker worthy of the name. It's been far, far too long.
The blade connects half a second before the enemy strike lands. Sparks fly and your stance holds. Perfect parry, full poison tact, opening for a devastating counter. That window is the entire heartbeat of Lies of P, and once you're locked into it, everything else falls away. This is NeoWiz's Pinocchio as Bloodborne reimagining, and it earns every comparison people throw at it. The Legion arm system lets you swap in grappling hooks, flamethrowers, and stun tools mid-fight, giving you tactical options that most Souls-likes don't bother offering. Weapon assembly, mixing blades and handles for different movesets, adds a genuine crafting layer on top of an already tight combat system. I know people usually hate durability mechanics, but here it forces you to keep moving, keep adapting your loadout instead of turtling behind one perfect build. The boss design escalates beautifully too, each fight demanding sharper reads than the last. It's not just a Souls-like wearing a fairy tale skin, it's got its own identity, its own bleak, gorgeous Belle Epoque atmosphere that makes every corner worth exploring.
Don't give up. From death's door, over and over. How'd you do it? Let's find out, shall we?
Where Lies of P kept you boxed into tight linear arenas, punishing every mistimed dodge, Crimson Desert throws all of that structure out the window and hands you an entire open world instead. Pearl Abyss built something massive here, real-time combat that blends weapon combos with contextual grapples, letting you yank enemies off horseback or slam them into terrain mid-fight. It's chaotic in the best way. I've got to be real with you though. The launch was rough. Performance issues, balance problems, a few systems that felt half-finished out of the gate. It took multiple big patches over the following months to actually smooth things out. But underneath all that early turbulence, the combat and traversal were always a treat. Horseback chases through canyon terrain, siege battles that scale up dramatically, hunting sequences that feel quite tense. The world itself sells the fantasy too, dense forests bleeding into fortified towns without a loading screen in sight. If you dodged it at launch, it's worth another look now that the foundation is a lot more stable.
They come in many forms, human and...
Stay away from that!
Survival horror pacing has changed a lot over the years. The genre used to lean on jump scares and ammo scarcity alone, but the best entries now understand dread is about anticipation, not surprise. Resident Evil Requiem builds on that lesson hard. Capcom's latest doesn't just throw monsters at you, it lets silence do the heavy lifting, stretching out hallways and creaking floorboards until you're flinching at nothing. The RE engine keeps delivering some of the best horror atmosphere in the industry. Lighting, sound design, environmental detail, all working together to keep tension a constant hum rather than a series of spikes. Resource management still matters, every bullet still counts, but the encounter design feels smarter this time, forcing tactical retreats instead of just backpedaling and shooting. There's a genuine sense that the team studied what worked in the Village and RE4 remake and pushed it further rather than repeating it. My one concern is pacing dips during mid-game exploration sections that feel a little padded. Still, as a horror experience, this is Capcom operating near the top of their game again.
Raccoon City was where it all began for me.
Fighting to change things.
For those who come.
After crawling through Requiem's suffocating dread, let's shift into something completely different. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 trades jump scares for painterly melancholy, and the tonal whiplash is actually kind of beautiful. This turn-based RPG built its combat around real-time reactions, dodges, parries, and counters layered on top of traditional turn structure, so you're never just watching numbers tick down. It's an unusual hybrid, and it works far better than it has any right to. The world itself carries this gorgeous, sorrowful Belle Epoque aesthetic, painted skies bleeding into crumbling architecture that tells its own story before a single line of dialogue lands. The narrative structure, a doomed expedition against an unstoppable numbered threat, gives every character arc weight, knowing anyone could be gone by the next chapter. Come to think of it, that mortality mechanic changes how you engage with the whole cast. You get attached faster because you have to. The difficulty curve spikes unevenly against a few optional bosses, sure, but as a debut from a small French studio, this is one of the most striking RPGs in years.
I expected no less from you, my boy. Sir.
Turn-based combat has its charm, sure, but there's something about just standing there selecting menu options while an enemy politely waits their turn that can feel a little passive. Sekiro demands the exact opposite. Every fight is a live conversation, deflecting strikes on reaction, building posture damage until your opponent's guard shatters completely. This is From Software at their most mechanically focused. No builds, no loot chasing, just you, a blade, and a posture system that punishes hesitation harder than almost any game I've played. The prosthetic arm adds tactical variety, firecrackers to break certain enemy types, axes to shred shields, but the core skill is always deflection timing. It's, okay, real talk, brutally unforgiving early on. Genichiro alone breaks a lot of players before they understand the rhythm the game's actually asking for. But once it clicks, once you're deflecting a 5-hit combo without flinching, nothing else in the genre replicates that specific high. The verticality and grappling hook traversal add mobility most Souls-likes don't bother with either. It's demanding, it's relentless, and it's one of FromSoft's tightest designs.
You crest a hill expecting another checkpoint, another loading screen, and instead the entire lands between just opens up in front of you. Golden trees, distant castles, something enormous moving on the horizon that you have absolutely no business fighting yet. That disorientation, that scale, is the whole identity of Elden Ring. From Software took their Souls-like formula and finally let it breathe in open-world space, and the payoff is staggering. Horseback combat, spirit ashes summoning allies mid-fight, an absurd variety of builds ranging from pure strength to full incantation caster. There's actual playstyle here for almost anyone. The dungeon density can feel repetitive after your 40th catacomb, sure. A lot of them reuse the same layouts and traps, but the major legacy dungeons more than make up for it, each one a meticulously crafted set piece. George R.R. Martin's world building gives the lore a mythic weight most games can't touch, told through item descriptions and environmental storytelling rather than exposition dumps. It's massive, it's demanding, and it somehow never stops surprising you even dozens of hours in.
Tyranny of Messmer's flame.
Are you prepared for another hard lesson?
After the overwhelming, open-ended scale of Elden Ring, hundreds of hours, an entire continent to lose yourself in, let's close things out with something that trades scope for precision. Hades 2 compresses everything into tight, replayable runs through the underworld, and honestly, that shift in pace feels earned after everything else on this list. Melinoe's kit expands on the original with Omega abilities, Arcana cards, and a spellcasting system that adds a whole new layer to the boon-stacking chaos Supergiant's known for. Every run feels different, every death teaches you something concrete for the next attempt. That's the loop, and it's as addictive as ever. The narrative threading between runs still does that thing where character relationships deepen organically, conversations evolving based on what you've done, who you've talked to, how far you've pushed. I'll admit the pacing between major story beats can feel slow if you're grinding for a specific build, but as a closer, as the tightest, most replayable game on this entire list, Hades 2 sends things off exactly the way it should. Fast, sharp, and endlessly compelling.
The family has your back, surprised as they are about this.
Well, that's all the time I have for this video. Now, is there a game on the list that you have legitimately never heard of before? If yes, which one? Also, like the video if you like it, sub if you want more. I'll see you in the next one.